So I kind of found thyroid function tests quite confusing in medical school. If only there was a simple, concise video just and explain it all. What is up everyone, my name is Khalid and I work as a doctor in London, and today we're going to be talking about thyroid function tests and how to interpret them. I needed to take a breath there because that was like a long sentence and I've got no idea why I did not breathe. Breathing is important in life, and so is knowing the thyroid function tests. Thyroid hormonal axis starts in the brain in the hypothalamus, which releases TRH, thyroid releasing hormone. This will then go down to the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland releases TSH, which is our first main player and the one that I focus on quite a bit when I am looking at blood results. TSH then communicates and goes to the thyroid gland, causing the thyroid gland to produce T4 and T3. This is now circulating in the body, but also it acts as a negative feedback loop, like a braking system to stop the production or reduce the production of TSH, so that there is that kind of equilibrium where one, if it goes high, the other one will lower. So now that you've got a better idea of the ecosystem, it's important to say that in the UK, we mainly do blood tests on TSH and T4. T3 is not commonly done in primary care. T4 is a good marker of the thyroid function, so that gives us a good picture of what's going on. First thing I look for when I've got the blood results there, and then I look at T4. So quite simply, if your T4 is high, then you're looking at somebody who's got hyperthyroidism. To try and work out whether it's primary and secondary takes a little extra bit of thinking. Now remember, primary hypothyroidism means the pathology is within the thyroid gland itself, and secondary is that it's outside of the thyroid gland, and most of the time it will be in the pituitary or other areas where there's excess secretions of TSH. If your T4 is high and your TSH has responded by becoming low, we know that the system is actually working quite well. You've got something that's been jacked up, TSH has actually responded, it's what one would expect. And for that reason, that's the problem is actually based in the thyroid gland. So if the thyroid is churning out lots of T4, this acts like a braking system and reduces your TSH levels in the hope that this equilibrium will be balanced. But as we know, that doesn't sometimes occur with hypothyroidism. So because it's just producing a lot of T4. Secondary hyperthyroidism is when the T4 is high, but also the TSH is high. If you see that picture, then what it should trigger for you in terms of a thought is something in the brain that is churning out lots of TSH. And TSH is funneling all the way down to the thyroid. Once it's reached the thyroid, T4 is being produced, and as I discussed earlier with you, the braking system is just not working. Let's move on to hypothyroidism, so low or underactive thyroid. With underactive thyroids, you've got low T4 levels. And there are again two types of underactive thyroids: primary, where the problem is within, and secondary, where the problem is outside of the thyroid gland. With primary underactive thyroids, you will have low T4 levels, but you'll have high TSH levels. And again, as we've discussed throughout, TSH is being churned out to try and stimulate the thyroid to produce more T4, but the thyroid gland itself is pretty knackered, so it's just not able to keep up with production. It's going at maximum capacity, and even that's not enough. So T4 low, TSH high. And with secondary hypothyroidism, you will have low T4 levels, but also low TSH levels. So that tells you that something else in the chain of command far higher up has gone wrong, because your TSH is reduced and low levels of T4 has not really, has not really stimulated more TSH production. So in that case there, it's something in the pituitary gland that is causing TSH levels to drop. Cool. So that's hypo-covered, hyper-covered. There is this subset called subclinical hypo and hyperthyroidism, which means that the thyroid levels, your T4, may be in the normal zone, or it might be on the far stretches of the normal, so it might be on the cusp of becoming abnormal. But when you look at the TSH, if the TSH is high, and the T4 is normal, that indicates that might be subclinical hypothyroidism. So the TSH is just being churned out, and it's just about keeping up to capacity with churning out T4. But if it goes on for longer, then that T4 levels begin to fall because the capacity is just falling. And likewise with subclinical hyperthyroidism, your TSH is low because it's trying to step back and reduce its production, but your T4 might be in the upper kind of limits of normal. So I guess life isn't a textbook. You're not going to see somebody at that exact moment where they go from not being hyperthyroid to being hypothyroid, and this is that kind of grey area where they're gradually about to become hyperthyroid. So that's another one that we do see quite commonly in primary care. So that's been thyroid function tests. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've certainly enjoyed making this film. It's a 2-minute video, it's not really a film. If you've enjoyed watching this program, wow, Grandad, that is the 1980s, this is a program. Yeah, it just means I can call myself a filmmaker. Stop banging your head on there, that's not a good look. If you've got any other questions about pretty much any other topics in medicine, drop me a shout and I'd be very happy to make another video on that. Peace out.